Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now, on today's show, I wanted to talk about the Polaris and what I thought, the SCM changes were going to, what kind of differences those were going to make with that ship. And initially, the idea of that ship being very high speed and being up there in speed is something I really like. It's something that kind of pushed the Polaris stock up in my opinion. But there were other factors. The more I thought about it, the more I kind of rolled it around in my head. Okay, well, if you're pushing your afterburners to maintain this speed, could they overheat? What could the wear and tear be like? How long can you maintain it? What are the fuel consumption values? What are the fuel replenishment values? Things like that. Things that we don't have yet, so we can't really make pronouncements on that. We can say that it seems like they're kind of going like a style of gameplay, sort of like you see the Defiant in Deep Space Nine. You think, okay, that's pretty damn cool. It's highly maneuverable. It's fast. It's hard hitting. And this ship seems to kind of tick those boxes as well. But, watching something on TV and then flying a similar thing in the game are two completely different things. And even you can say they're going for this style, but is it going to be able to live up to that? What are the fuel, all these questions and all these variables that we just don't have to even begin to really answer those questions. Do I like the Polaris? I like it more now knowing that it's going to be going faster. I was thinking more about the torpedoes, and even though I'm not all that crazy about the torpedoes, I kind of wanted guns a little bit more, or at least the option to switch back and forth. I mean, one of the advantages, especially if it's a high-speed ship and you're making high-speed runs, is you can fire torpedoes off-axis, which is to say that even though a lot of these guns are turreted, these main weapons, I mean, even if you could take those torpedoes out and just put fixed forward cannons in that thing, you would still have to aim your ship at another ship to hit it, whereas with torpedoes you just have to get it hopefully within a reasonable distance of the center of your screen, lock torpedoes and fire, depending once again on how all these things work, which we don't really know yet. I mean, who knows, if you have a torpedo operator, he could be operating another screen and he could be firing torpedoes. They might just circle back behind you and hit someone behind you, which would be even cooler. Hopefully it goes to something like that, but with torpedoes at the very least, even if they work like missiles on fighters, you can fire them off axis, so you don't have to aim your ship directly at the other ship, so you can make more of a sweeping pass, which is something that I kind of like. And so especially now, having this speed information is cool, and hopefully they keep going in that direction. I kind of like the idea of what they're doing, but on the other hand, I don't know, fighters it's weird. It's like fighters get a little less attractive to me the more time goes on, watching the development of this game. They just seem a little fragile and small. So I don't know what the future holds for them. Definitely they're going to have a niche. Definitely they're going to have a role in the battlefield, but to me they seem a little fragile compared to some of the monsters that are coming into this game, especially now with these proposed changes. But I mean, once again, all that could change. So you just have to look at the Xeon Scout and the Herald to know how much things can change. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And the Polaris, I mean, what are the chances that we're going to see the Polaris within a year? Slim to none. What are the chances that we might see it maybe within 2 years? Probably. I think there's definitely an impetus to get the ship done, but at the same time, even if they sold 10,000 of them, that's a very small fraction of the overall people out there who own ships and Star Citizens. So to kind of cater to that small segment probably wouldn't be in their best overall interests. So even though I think there's a cool factor with that ship, I don't know if they're going to deliver it right away. I mean, who knows? I haven't heard anything, but if they were actually working on it right now, I would be a little surprised to find that out, but not at all disappointed either, because obviously that's going to be a ship that's going to have a pretty big role to play in the future. So, I mean, with that kind of set aside for now, because we just don't have enough information yet, there are other big ships that are coming that we do have information on. And one of the ships that I've been thinking about a lot is the Caterpillar. And of course, Caterpillar coming in 2.6, though obviously we're not getting 3.0 this year. I mean that's pretty much set in stone. And so we can't do planet-side landings, but one of the things that's been sticking out with the Caterpillar in my mind is the fact that it has all these open bays, and once again they're reinforcing the idea of a mini carrier. You can do that with this ship, but I was looking at it more in terms of planet-side stuff, which is a little bit of my disappointment that we're not seeing 3.0 this year. Is one of the things that was kind of sticking out in my mind, and it's been like that since the summer, since we saw the homesteading demo at Gamescom, and then once again at CitizenCon when we saw the little ground mission with the crashed Javelin. When I was looking at that stuff, I was starting to think about the Caterpillar, and you got the elevator in the front, and you've got the doors on the side. You could probably land a fair amount of troops with the Caterpillar and troops with equipment. You could probably land a couple of Argos. I don't know how that elevator works in the front yet, so I can't really say, but it looks like it can carry a substantial amount of equipment on it, so who knows, maybe you can park an Argo on it, lower it down, then park another one and lower that down, because it looks like there's enough room, at least in the front of the Caterpillar, for 2 of those. And then all the other bays on the side, you could load them up with Dragonfly, so you could land a pretty significant ground force with that ship. And the fact that you could do it with vehicles means you wouldn't have to land that close up, and you could almost put like a very lightly armored recon group on the ground with a Caterpillar. It would kind of obviously infringe on its ability to carry cargo away, whether you're doing criminal stuff or whether you're doing legitimate military or mission stuff. It would obviously infringe on that, but I mean, like, the Caterpillar would still give you the ability to land a significant amount of troops and equipment onto a planet's surface to carry out whatever missions or operations you were doing in the area. And so that is a dimension of the Caterpillar that I'm very interested in testing in the future, but obviously not in the very near future. Hopefully soon, but we'll have to wait and see. Best bet, I mean, let's see, probably February, March, I would say, probably is when we'll get 3.0 now. Considering how, 2.6 does, and I mean, it does have a lot of new stuff in it, obviously, but I mean, we're looking at a Caterpillar that is more or less done at this point. We're looking at a Herald that is more or less done. It's more about getting all these things to work together in the PU before they let everybody play with it. And when you're adding like all these layers of complexity with procedural planets and landing and all the missions that are going to be there, obviously 3.0 is going to be a lot bigger undertaking, so it's going to be a while, I think, before we see that, at least a few months at the very least. And I wouldn't be shocked or surprised at all if the snow's already melted by the time we're playing 3.0. I mean, I don't want to say that like, because these guys, you know how they are, and they just drag their ass and they don't get it done. No, I mean, we're talking about an incredible amount of complexity and an incredible amount of content to add to the game. So it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. And I mean, it is a Chris Roberts game, so there's no rush, right? So we'll see it when we see it. I'm very excited to do that with the Caterpillar. I really want to land like a whole recon group down onto a planet with these, with vehicles, and have them go around and do missions. I think that would be really cool. And I mean, one of the things in my org, we were having a meeting, and I was saying, man, the first thing I want to do in 2.6 is, if we can, I want to load up my Caterpillar and take it to the Kovalex station. I just want to take like all my org members. I'm going to go steal all the boxes out of the station and load them up into my ship. We're stealing everything that ain't nailed down out of there. I mean, not that you can really sell it for money. It'd be cool if you could, but just because I so desperately want to, I want to do some of the stuff now. I want to do some of the real stuff in Star Citizen, and it's just not there, right? And there's been a few forum threads and people talking about, oh, where's the fun in Star Citizen right now, blah, blah, blah. And I think the fun is something that's definitely coming in the future, and right now what we're getting is just little basic pieces as the puzzle gets put together, and I don't think we're at the quote-unquote fun stage of it yet, but I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up soon. I really do. I mean, there's at least going to be, I don't know how many hours we'll have to wait and see, because I think more of the replay value is going to be in Star Marine than in anything else, because I think truthfully the PU's kind of gotten a little old. It's kind of gotten a little repetitious with, it's like, well, we can go to the Kovalex station and do that mission, or we can go do the missions for the UEE, the probe, the probe missions. But really, we're all just, as always, just kind of sitting here staring off into the future and waiting for the good stuff. And hopefully with planets, with procedural planets, we'll really start to see some of that stuff ramp up. Now, you might be asking yourself why this footage has changed to GTA Online at this point. It's because, when people are talking about where's the fun in Star Citizen, or, it would be better if we were already earning towards stuff in Star Citizen, I feel that at this point, it's a good time to tell a cautionary tale about making things permanent before you've tested things out and worked things out, or, adding a level of permanency. Now, arguably, of course, in Star Citizen, let's say if we were doing missions now and we got to keep the UEC we were earning, well, there's already people out there. I think I know one person at least had over 200,000 alpha UEC just from doing stuff in the baby PU. Now, maybe that will end up being a lot. Maybe that'll end up being a little in the final version of the game, but it's hard to tell. But obviously, people could go out, and there might be bugs or exploits that people could use to make a lot of money. Now, here I am. I'm running around, and I'm maintaining all my businesses, all my biker businesses, because, of course, there's another DLC coming out, and I want to buy stuff. So I'm, trying to make a lot of money and, working at that. But this character here has a particular story behind it. And when I was originally playing GTA Online, when the game first released, I had created two characters. One was a dude, I think I've shown him before here on this channel, and the other one was this character who vastly outlevels him. And the reason behind that is about 2 or 3 days into the launch of GTA Online, all the way back in 2013. I think September 2013 was when GTA Online released on PS3 and Xbox. I was playing on PS3. But back then, the missions were incredibly broken when they were first released. And there was one mission in particular. I'm sure you could, if you can find them, you can go back and look them up. It was called the Violent Duct Exploit. And the Violent Duct mission was basically you go in, you break up a coke deal, you kill a bunch of gangsters, steal the coke, deliver the coke, and you would get paid out in cash. But the thing of it is that there was a glitch in that where if you stacked a sticky bomb onto the front of your car, drove your car into the midst of all these gangsters so it would get to the guy who actually had the coke, and then just dove out of your car and detonated the sticky bomb, the mission auto-completed. And I think the mission at that time was paying out something like 20,000 or 19,000, something like that cash. It was a long time ago. I can't quite remember the amount of money. But that's, even to this day, that would be a significant amount of money for mission completion. But there was also some other factors. You could auto-repeat missions. As soon as a mission ended, you could just, hold down your right trigger, or I think it was right shoulder button, and you could just automatically repeat that mission. You could do that over and over and over and over again. So even though you were spending money on a sticky bomb, you were just flipping this mission again and again and again. So when I was playing around on this character, somebody said, hey, you want to make a bunch of money? I was like, yeah, sure, I want to make a bunch of money. And so without even realizing what was about to happen, all of a sudden we were just making money over and over and over again. I didn't even have sticky bombs at that point, and we were just doing this over and over and over again, and I just kept leveling. But, I realized that obviously this wasn't legitimate and this wasn't intended. So after I'd felt that I had scored a reasonable amount of money from it, I kind of went, okay, you know what? I'm just going to back away from this now. And so I had enough money and I had enough levels that I was able to buy a Rhino tank and a Buzzard chopper. And the rest is history. I was able to, I made a playlist of all the missions that just involved going in and destroying everything. And then I would just keep pulling out my Rhino tank, driving in, destroying everything, completing the mission, and then doing this over and over and over again on this playlist. Even though they'd taken auto repeat out, I could just do a playlist and do each mission in sequence and make a bunch of money. And so fast forward to now, 3 years later, is when all that money ran out. Like, now you can see I'm down to like just over $1 million, and I'm rebuilding myself up. But it took me 3 years to blow all that money that was built off of the seed money that I got from that game being broken. And in Star Citizen, obviously things aren't going to be worked out. Things are going to be very rough. So if they attach any kind of level of permanence to this now, who knows? I mean, when I'm joking about going to the Kovalek station and loading up on crates, who knows? One of those crates could end up being worth a crap ton of money, and they might be thinking, well, no one really picked up these crates, or no one really farmed these crates. But obviously people do that kind of stuff, and to keep things kind of fair and balanced in Star Citizen, it's probably better to have things a little bit more worked out and, at a reasonable level before you go and start saying, okay, now it's permanent and now everything counts. Because obviously Rockstar never intended me to go 3 years before I ran out of money and started actually having to do all these CEO things and actually, play for keeps now. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that even though it would be cool to have a certain level of permanence attached to Star Citizen at this point, and it would certainly make playing the game, even in the alpha state, more meaningful, there certainly are risks. Now, of course, you can say, well, they can do this, they can do that, they can take these things away from you. Sure, they can. But the same reason why I was able to keep, I think, that money from the early days of playing Violent Duct is because I kept it reasonable. I kept it down to a certain level, and so I was able to more or less kind of get away with it like a lot of people were. And that has funded a heck of a lot of fun. So even though, obviously, we're all in the same boat. We all want to play we all want to play Star Citizen. We all want to get things done, and we all want to, get in there and, and start moving the ball down the field, so to speak. Obviously, rushing things can have some very unfortunate consequences. But, some fun consequences came along there too. I mean, I do have pretty much every Pegasus vehicle in the game, and, a lot of ridiculous fun stuff. But I am actually, truthfully, now that I am actually kind of broke-ish in the game, I'm actually having more fun playing it. It's a little bit more meaningful to play when I actually have goals and objectives now. So yeah, I think that's always going to be the struggle for us, as backers of Star Citizen, is the struggle is always going to be kind of like curbing our own enthusiasm and excitement to kind of get these things, like saying, oh, I want it now, I want my caterpillar now, I want to do missions now, I want to start making money now, all these things. There's something to be said for taking the time to do things right, even though I do kind of make jokes about, how long it takes to get things done. There obviously is a benefit to taking the time to doing things right. And even though we do debate what the right thing is to do, I think overall these debates are going to leave us in a better place than had we not had them at all, which is kind of one of the things that always kind of mystifies me, is when people say, oh, no, just sit back and relax and let them do it. And I said, no, you gotta, there are points to be made about certain things and the way certain things are done. And trust me, there's a lot of us out there who have a lot of gaming experience, who may not have programming experience, who may not have, the kind of knowledge that creates a ship like this flying in a universe like that. But we know how systems work, and we know how systems have been exploited in the past. And so even though, like, you might think that you don't have anything valuable to contribute to the discussion, you do, because if you're a gamer, then you know how things can be broken sometimes, and you can kind of see these things coming together and saying, you might want to watch out for that, because that's something that could be exploited, and here's a reason why. And you already see that on the forums, and that's the kind of stuff that, honestly, I know people get all in each other's face, because there's always the, oh, you guys hate Star Citizen, and oh, you guys are just the white knights of Star Citizen, blah, 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 blah. But it's things like this that people do need to talk about, and things that people, concerns that people need to raise in order to make the game the way it is, because, there's the developers, and then there's the people in charge, and they're kind of trying to make the game, but players and backers have a dimension of knowledge that they lack. And I think it's a point of view that, to a certain extent, is, some people like to kind of suppress it just as a knee-jerk reaction, thinking it's people hating on the game, when it's people who are really, a lot of it is just people who are trying to make sure that the game comes out correctly and are speaking from, like, real experience and saying, these are the things that you have to watch out for going into the future. So, yeah, that's kind of why I do this show. It's to kind of keep those discussions alive. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.